if a borrower defaults?
Talk with them, we ask what happened, why this has happened, is it something temporary? But we as a Kilde would be fronting the conversation with the borrower and recommending the actions to our investors.
What happens if a borrower defaults?
Thank you for the question. So that would be a very unfortunate scenario, and I think it would be very rare that this would happen. There are different kind of levels of default as well. So one, like most common, would be that one of the covenants which we have on the borrower would actually be breached, and when it's not mitigated, it is considered a default, and we have the right to request the repayment. So this is the first, I would say, level of default. Second level of default would be that there's a delay in a payment of the coupon typically, and the worst is that the borrower cannot give back the principal of the loan. So this is the worst situation of the default. We talk with them, we ask what happened, why this has happened, is it something temporary, is it some structural problem like with the firm that it will not be able to even recover from this situation. So once we establish the baseline, what is happening, then the second would be try to reach some kind of agreement, because reaching an agreement is usually more productive, both for the borrower and for the investors. Typically, these kind of agreements lead to a restructuring, that we say, okay, so there's a problem for payment, perhaps we can temporarily lower the coupon payments and then get compensated later when the situation improves, or we can say we can do the opposite. We can say you're going to pay the higher coupon payments because you are in a default, maybe twice as much even, but we will prolong the loan for another year or a year and a half, and then you will gradually repay the principal over the time. All these actions would have to be agreed with our investors, but we as a Kilde would be fronting the conversation with the borrower and recommending the actions to our investors. The worst case scenario is the, I call it unmitigated default, or free fall. You can imagine it like this, when they stop paying, there's lack of communication, maybe the management change, shareholder change, then usually you need to go into the bankruptcy proceedings with the borrower. So we will talk to the other creditors, and we will put a proposal to the court for bankruptcy, for the forced bankruptcy of the borrower. And then the administrator is appointed by the court, and administrators start managing the borrower instead of the regular management. And shareholders also have no say at that moment what is happening in the company, and the goal of the administrator is to return money to all the creditors, so all the interested parties, including employees. So there's a lot of interested parties. They are returning money, and then again, the pecking order where we are as a creditor really makes a difference. When we are senior secured creditors, we will directly go and seize the collateral and start selling the collateral or collecting. In the case of loan portfolio, we're going to be collecting it through a third-party servicing agency. Again, if the situation might be a bit more managed, we might get it collected from the borrower themselves, from the collection department, but the payment will be directly routed to us, not to the company and not to the rest of the creditors. When you are unsecured creditor, you cannot rely on the collateral, but you will get the money which are distributed by the administrator at the time he's distributing it. I want to say that why you want to make some sort of a agreement like before, because the bankruptcy proceedings takes a long time, and it might take several years before we get the money back. It's always easier to negotiate and agree something.
And from our investor's perspective, when you participate in a tranche, you're typically not the only investor. There might be multiple investors in a tranche. Does that make a difference?
It makes a difference, of course, because any kind of agreement which we would strike with the borrower, we need to take into account the other creditors there, what is their covenants. Would this cause a so-called cross default, where someone defaults on our loan? Very likely it will lead to the default on all the other loans as well, and vice versa. If the borrower defaults on other creditors' loan or bond, it will create a default in our case as well. Basically, declaring the default gives us a more right and more leverage towards the borrower, what we can demand.
Understood. And from our investor's perspective, as a Kilde investor, when you're in a tranche and you're pari passu with all the other investors in that tranche, does that mean you all have the same rights and the same claims?
When you are pari passu, you have exactly the same rights. That's correct.
Super. All right. Thank you very much, Radek.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.